Thank you very much for your fine speech, and in summary, for the government, good speaker.
Ladies and gentlemen, we both agree that this debate is about change. Both sides agree that at the current stages of Greece, especially in terms of economic development, is something we cannot tolerate, that something has to be dealt with. However, the main clash and the main clash of ideas is how to find this official medium. Now, but before I would go and explain why we think that changing and suspending all the governmental bodies, we find in this special case of Greece the most efficient, I would go into some points of rebuttal. Firstly, the previous speaker has spoken a lot about austerity and about how people don't approve of it, and how the horrible military would impose terrible austerity measures. Now, what we're saying now is that austerity isn't an evil in itself, since the debt of the Greek debt is so high already, and the state should find a way to repay it in order to revive its economy. Now, what the status quo is that the government is unable to decide on what measures, to what extent should be done. A lot of time is wasted. Greece has to get new credit and new bailouts, and this basically, the system doesn't functioning. The situation isn't functioning. The situation gets only worse. The debt increases. Now, this is something that has to be changed. Secondly, we've heard that the Greek military are supposed to be infiltrated with the sympathizers of masses. Well, however, we haven't been provided with any proof of it. So no official statements or anything they were supposed. So this is something we don't understand on our side of the table. We have also heard from the first opposition that saying military is immoral. No, this is something we strongly disagree with. Military rule isn't immoral. Military rule is only the way of conducting politics. It has no moral or immoral dimension to it on its own. The reason is if you have the power, how you use the power. And what we're trying to prove in this debate is that military way of rule is the most structured and organized and strict, and this is something especially Greece needs. So we've presented you, later please, we presented you with three main points to be considered. First is the extreme situation and very serious threat to economic development that we have right now, that calls, as my partner said, for desperate measures. So we have, in order to pass a law quickly and in order to act quickly, we need people who are capable of doing this. And for instance, later please. And for instance, people have elected Charles de Gaulle not because they have seen him as a leader who is able to make these decisions, and simply because they have seen him act as a military general. So. For this reason, we think, I'll take in a minute, and for this reason, we think that this strictness, organization, and decisions that can be done efficiently, precisely by the military, given the way how serious situation has become. Yes, sir.
Don't you think that in a military takeover, unlike a parliamentary, unlike a democracy whereby you can vent your opinions, particularly when people are so strongly believe in it, people are unlikely to compromise and will be further challenged and even be more angry and have more violent street protests and have greater crackdowns?
Well, certainly they will be more angry if they don't see any improvement. But what we think is that by providing even maybe the measures would be harsh, maybe the measures would not be harsh. I mean, austerity measures, it doesn't really matter. But if the people are convinced that in the long run they will pay off the debts and they will be able to run their businesses again, they would surely be able to put up with certain. With the measures proposed by the government, even if they don't like them right away. Well, if people disagree, it doesn't always mean it's bad for the state. If they see that it's a way for further success, they would certainly be able and find a way to put up with them. No, thank you. Now, this brings to the second point, is that what we see in case of Greece is a very special case, since Greece is a... No, I won't be taking points. Since Greece is a member of the European Union, which means it has certain obligations and closer ties with other member states, which means it is in their interest, and because of the fact that Greece is in the Eurozone, it's within their interest to make sure that military rule is only a sufficient mechanism of recovery and nothing more. It is in their interest to to supervise it and make sure the power is returned to the government bodies afterwards. They say, well, military rule isn't unaccountable. Well, no, in fact, it's not, because of the way how closely connected it is with its other member states, and it's within their interest to make sure that it is accountable not only to its citizens but only to the other member states. So therefore, we believe that Greece would not get kicked out, and on the other hand, we would have double control. Then we have this assumption that if the military come to power, they would. We heard human rights abuse and the parallel, and the previous speaker talked about human rights abuse and people being put to prison, and especially how military are corrupt. Well, we on our side of the debate have already seen that the reason why Greece ended up in such an abominable state is, among others, is actually government corruption. So the reason for the status quo may be that the government is already corrupt. Well, on one hand, it's clear how you can bribe an official, but on the other hand, it's absolutely not clear who and for which reason is going to bribe a military general who's in the head of the rules. So, to sum up, this debate is about change, ladies and gentlemen, and we've always agreed that the situation cannot be tolerated with, firstly, because, as the speakers have pointed out, the worst economic situations in the 40 years, and we need to change. So our contribution to the debate is that we'll show you the difference between military and democratic government, and the latter is more adapted to dealing with crisis, with having crisis. It's more adapted to making efficient decisions. And secondly, we have told you how Greece, being part of the EU, is a guarantee of the country remaining in the EU, and is a guarantee that the EU would actually supervise and make sure that military rule is only a way of achieving is only a way of climbing out of the swamp of crisis. It's only a way, but it's not a means on itself, and therefore I beg you to propose.